Good morning everyone, Jason here, and in this video I'm going to show you how I would bring a grayscale concept artwork into its final color form. For this particular demo, I'm going to use the third concept art from the environment thumbnail tutorial video. It's not shown here, but I start off by increasing the canvas size of this particular canvas to something bigger so that I can add more details, and I proceed to adjust the sketch. It's, as I mentioned in the environment thumbnail video, that it's much easier to adjust in the grayscale stage. Next, I create a new document. For this particular painting, I am going with a purple, yellow, and green split complementary color scheme. In this new canvas that I created, I actually paint in the individual tints of those colors. It's an optional step, but I think it's easier for me to visualize and pick the colors that I'll need. So over here I created a color layer, so it's not a normal layer. This layer is set on the color blending mode, and I begin to apply some of the colors that I've already shortlisted in that other canvas over there. Next, I create a layer set to the overlay blending mode. When you are painting in the color blending mode, it gives you color, but it usually comes off as a little dull. So having the overlay layer, it can actually help to saturate the colors a little bit more. In both these layers, I use the cloud brush to give the painting a little bit of texture. So next, I created a color balance adjustment layer to further tweak the colors, and I also use the hue saturation adjustment layers to further saturate the painting. Adjustment layers are a great way to edit the photo or edit the painting without having to merge all the layers, and it also gives you flexibility. You can adjust the opacity of that particular adjustment layer to change how much the adjustment layer would affect the layers below. So before I start with the actual detail phase of the painting, I like to go over the entire painting once with color. The method that I'm showing you today, which involves using the color and overlay blending, layer blending modes, actually produces, I would say, a dull color scheme. Like, the colors are there, but it still feels somewhat desaturated and can look overly monochromatic. Like, for example, the purple only has purple. It doesn't have pink or red or blue in it. It just looks purple. So I like to actually go over the entire painting with just, rough brush strokes, but with color. And basically this gives me more control as to what color I want on the painting itself. I'm largely still sampling from the colors that I've produced using the color and overlay blending modes, but sometimes I'll add a little bit more blues, a little bit more pinks to make it more interesting. So in this step, I'm not overly concerned with too much of the details. Again, I'm still working at the big picture level. I'm not zooming in that much yet. So here, just trying to detail the clouds, and because we still have the layers that we had previously when we are doing the grayscale concept art, you can simply do a selection of those layers and clean up on the silhouette by simply holding Control and clicking on the thumbnail that is beside the layer name. Again, you have to hold down Control, the Control key, and click on the thumbnail that is beside the layer name of that particular layer where you want to do a selection of the areas that you have painted. So this saves me the trouble of having to lasso to that area that I want to paint. Again, as you can see here, I'm adding a lot of green that was absent when I was using the color and overlay blending modes. So with a combination of the slanted brush, the rectangular brush, and the textured brush, I'm slowly carving out some of the shape of the cleaves. So over here I am carefully separating each plane. The more planes you create, the more depth, the more illusion of that you'll be creating. You're trying to clean up some of the shapes on the cliff. Of course, using a reference image to check that whatever I'm drawing is somewhat accurate to the real world. Of course, you don't want to be overly accurate because after all, this is a fantasy drawing, but you still want to maintain some of these shapes so that the audience can recognize that, oh, it's a cliff. So over here I am starting to add some details to the castle itself. Again, just color picking some of the colors that are already there and adding my own colors when I see fit. For example, the yellow that I want on the castle, it's quite hard to add brighter colors such as yellow, orange, and red during the color and overlay blending mode phase, because these colors are very light in its value, so it's actually easier to just add in these hues straight away with a normal blending mode layer. So here I'm just defining the shape of the castle, because especially the bottom part, while I was creating the sketch, I just suggested the shape. It's not very clear. Again, as you can see, I'm not zooming in yet. It's still very much working from the big picture. And after this phase, I will go on in to detail each individual component. And for that, I am going to speed up the video, because again, during the detail phase, it's very much a grindy process. It's just examining each element and giving them the appropriate details. Whereas I thought this particular part of the painting is worth more explanation. And let's go on with the detail phase. So here we shall begin the detail phase of the painting, and I will just let the music take over, and I'll see you again near the end of the video, where I will explain how I would finish the painting, how I would touch it up, and how I would give my final adjustments to the painting. Enjoy. So over here I am almost done with the painting, and I realized that the spikes in the foreground and the island that the castle is standing on, it's a little bit close in terms of tonal value. I like to separate them a little bit more. So I created a fog layer, and in that layer I created an alpha channel. Using black, I'm able to erase out the fog. And by erasing, I don't mean literally erasing. The good thing about using an alpha channel for this is that you can actually repaint in the fog with a white color. So using black, you are erasing it, and using white, you are unerasing it. So the information of the fog is there. It's not actually deleted, so you can actually go back to undo your changes if you think that it's not right. So again, as you can see, by adding a light fog layer, you can separate out the two planes a little bit more. Go ahead and add a little bit more fog just to better separate out the two planes. And then, you know, just a small enhancement. I'm adding a little bit of stars to the sky. And looking back at this painting, I guess if given more time, I would have flashed up a little bit more of the design of the castle. Right now it's still relatively plain. I would also perhaps add in more dragons, more buildings in the background village or background town. Over here I created a black layer and set it to saturation to sort of check on the tonal values. I think I'm rather okay with it, so I didn't do much to change it. And I also had the curves adjustment layers from the thumbnail face. Just edited that a little bit. And over here I created a black layer and set it to color dodge. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just selecting a yellow color and giving the light that is coming out from the castle windows a little bit of a boost to over exaggerate the colors a little bit. And I'm also brightening up some of the ripples on the lake. Here I'm doing another color balance adjustment layers. Sometimes I just like to try out to see if it looks better. Sometimes I don't end up using what I have, but sometimes I like the result of this adjustment layers, and I choose to keep it. And finally, I like to import some real life textures. As you can see in a moment over here, I'm just importing some photo textures, grungy, you know, just effect textures. And again, playing with the layer blending modes. For this particular example, I chose overlay. It added lighting, color, and texture information into the canvas. Sometimes I choose to keep, sometimes I choose to keep it, sometimes I discard it. But it's more of a experimental process to enhance your final image. Of course, try not to over rely on some of this effects, I would say. It's still important to have a solid base to work off. So the underlying drawing or the underlying painting should still be solid by itself before you even add in all these colorful effects. But with that, I am done with this demo. Again, as I mentioned, if given more time, I would improve some of this, some of the things in the painting, such as the detail on the castle, adding in more dragons, more stuff in general. But I think as an environment concept piece, this is quite sufficient, and I will stop here. And yes, I wish to see what you have done. I hope that you have learned a lot from this video, and yeah, feel free to post your final artwork in the comment section below. See you next time.